Welcome to Shweta's Talkies Season 1. Let's chat and have some fun. People, their lives, their struggles and their joys. Faces, their truths and their beauty. Things of value, not price. I'm old school and I'm blunt. I like to explore things. I like to explore people and their emotions, places and their truths. Join me for Shweta's Talkies. We have today Mr. Saurabh Khanijo, one of the most loved men in F&B in Delhi. And I've known him for over 10, 15 years. I've known him for 10.
Yeah, of course.
Your story has been quite fascinating for me. When I sat with you, you went from poultry farming to travel to F&B, and each one had its own trigger.
Yeah.
And each one had its own story.
Calling, yeah.
I want to go back to the poultry days.
So I was born in a poultry farming family. My father was the biggest poultry farmer of his own times. Did very well. And my father shifted from a small town, Barnala, and came and picked up a job just like anybody does in those days. And started very small. I mean, very humble start as anybody could start. And did a lot of hard work and small work and this, that, blah, blah. And finally landed up in a factory which used to make feed for chickens. So
Feed for chickens?
Yeah, and it was basically feed mill for the poultry farms. So whatever, these guys used to sell to all the poultry farms, and that used to go all over India from that particular factory in those times. Pretty close to DCM mills.
What is DCM? Tell for our viewers.
Delhi, that DCM mills.
DCM mills.
Yeah,
Okay.
So I think at some point of time there were branded poultry feeds also which used to come. But this particular place where my father used to work was non-branded, and they used to mix up everything for the pork, chickens or whatever, and they used to sell it. That he wasn't too happy with the job for a little while, and then he lost it one day, and he comes back and he says, I want to start on my own. His journey began from there. After 6 months I was born, and my mom keeps telling me that you became the lucky charm because
so you were the first startup win for him.
Yeah, so I mean, like in those days you used to say, okay, you were born, so the whole life changed or something, because he got a very small run. 72 he set up his shop when I was born. And 84 he passed away in a car accident. So in 12 years, whatever he did, he made a complete empire or the legacy, starting from a small poultry feed shop to a poultry farm to a poultry.
What was it called?
My father's company was called Welgrow. He started with New Delhi feed mills, and then the main brand became Welgrow Feeds and Welgrow Farms, and that's the name I carried on for my businesses too. My wife runs a company called Welgrow Travels. Basically, it made very big sense for livestock kind of a business. But Welgrow means growing well. That's the name came from. I started my career with my father's business only because I lost him at a very early age.
How old were you then?
I was 12 that time. Fortunately, my uncle was there who was taking care of me, so he was a father figure to me.
So typical family business.
Typical family business. Yes. In those 12 years, he'd made a huge empire, and by the time he passed away, he had 10 or 12 poultry farms, 4 or 5 poultry manufacturing feed mills, one in Delhi, one in Narela, one in Punjab somewhere, and he left a huge legacy. Whatever my mother and my uncle could wrap up, they kind of consolidated that business. And finally, I landed into my business when I just barely finished my 12th standard.
Did you participate at work while you were still in your 10th
and 12th?
Not
Too much, little bit. As I said,
you were familiar with it?
Yeah, I was familiar with it. My father was very modern man at that time also. He used to tell each and everything, whatever was happening in the business. Even as a kid, I used to go with him to the farms, wherever he used to, kind of travel. In those days, travel was unheard of. I traveled international with him.
It's hard to tell looking at you now that you're actually son of the soil. You probably know more about agro economy of India. Now we are getting into like other side of it. IT is kicking in and all of. I think in the 80s exports kicking in. But usse pehle to agriculture was the main business.
Yeah. And poultry farming was also kind of agricultural business because you needed huge land parcels. You need to put up sheds to make them environmental control because it was summer, harsh weathers. Chickens needed right ambient weather to lay egg or broilers or whatever. Every farm by default was growing something or the other agricultural product by the side. Whether you're selling potato or you're putting sunflower or you're putting any kind of oil seed, whatever you can grow, because you had the expanse of the land. Any farm was not less than an acre or something. Usually the good farm sizes were 10 acres. So people used to grow something or the other, any kind of crop.
I would assume as a restaurateur now, eventual, and we'll go over the story, you actually have a really good understanding of produce.
Yes, absolutely. And even when I got into my restaurants, as I said, I got left with my legacy. I didn't carry my poultry farming business the way my father used to do it. But for a very long time, I was kind of depending on my farm to fork kind of produce. Not that I kind of ever marketed it.
Really highly sustainable.
Yeah, in the sense whatever produce came from my farm, I used to use it in my restaurants. Not claiming it that time because people didn't value that time. Now the concepts have really picked up, okay, farm to fork, or people talk about organic and non-organic, and it became a very big thing in the middle. Again, it's kind of losing its big thing. But at the same time, I did that. Backward integration you can call, because we used to have our own chickens also, eggs also, a little bit of vegetables also. Not 100% I was dependent, but whatever seasonal produce I could use in my restaurant initially, I used to do that.
And so when I associate brands, your now restaurant, the Kylin Experience chain of F&B offerings,
right,
and then you have Welgrow as the travel. First of all, tell me a bit about Welgrow, and then we're going to talk about Kylin and the inception of it.
So Welgrow travel you're talking about?
Yes.
So I got married to my wife, who's also from poultry farming industry.
Oh, Radhika, I didn't know she was from poultry
her parents
farming.
are also, into poultry farming. Her father was very big poultry farmer as well.
Oh, nice.
And they were in a different stream of, like I have a restaurant, somebody has a QSR, and then somebody's got a hotel kind of a business. So in that analogy, you can say they were into hotels. I'm
more in hotels and you were more on the
because we were into layer farming and commercial farming and broiler farming. Radhika's father was into parent stock, the breeding.
So you had a proper merger and acquisition with her, didn't you?
I mean,
you just took the company and the lady too.
Destiny got us together. Again, arranged marriage under some circumstances where I said, okay, fine, no problem. And we came together. So
fabulous. And the story of Welgrow kind of.
Yes, so Radhika was working with her dad in poultry farming. I was doing my bit of thing in my poultry farming. Of course, we used to meet pretty often because of the poultry farming common platform. I used to go to Radhika's office because her father used to, supply a lot of stuff for our farms. And of course, he was the veteran of the industry, so used to take a lot of advice from him. Okay, what next and how to handle and everything. And that's where I used to meet Radhika a lot.
And you fell in love.
No, I wouldn't say that, but it was more of a, knowing family. The families knew each other, and that's how it happened.
Yes, I think those were literally most sustainable in relationships. Truly, that we are all, our age.
So because mom knew the family, and she was very keen on the family, and vice versa. And known families were the biggest thing. I mean, people never used to believe in love that time. They used to believe in the pedigree and the background of the family and stuff. So they said, okay, done.
It worked, didn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Beautifully so.
Beautiful, yeah.
Beautiful. Now, when we're at Kylin and I take a bird's eye view, you're a businessman. You have managed to expand your business from one vertical to the other. Many people are unable to do that. They're also unable to marry that into a well-functioning umbrella group. It's a hard thing because you're shifting.
I won't take any credit on that. I would just say God's guidance.
You have to take some credit. I mean,
I won't. I won't like to, but yeah, it's okay.
It is.
I mean, if you're giving it, I might as well take it.
These are completely different verticals. You're looking at agro, then you're looking at travel.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at Kylin Experience, which is actually fine dining within it various mantras. It is quite I think you're an everyday celeb for me. You're trying to manage all of that. And needless to say, and this is something as honestly, because we go out quite a lot, you're one of the most personable people which I have met in F&B, and I have
probably
lots of
those
friends
are your
there.
charms, I guess.
Maybe it's quite possible, but no, it is true, and that is that one brand which works with Saurabh Khanijo as a man, and it also works and translates into the Kylin Experience when we all be there. Kylin Experience as a name, it has an interesting inception, don't you think? You want to tell me?
I mean, I'll definitely tell you how the name came and everything.
So it's Kylin.
It's Kylin Experience.
Kylin Experience.
I mean, Kylin. I know. Initially, as I said, a lot of people in initial years used to, call it by all the pronunciations they could. Kylin, this, that, blah, blah, blah. It came true. I was killing it that time, so it became Kylin.
Fair enough.
And my friend used to run a travel company. So I said, why don't we start a travel company? Because I've got a little knowledge and I keep seeing him traveling, and that kind of fascinates me. And she says travel fascinates me too. I mean, and I guess it fascinates everybody. It's nothing different. So that's where the whole idea of starting a travel company came. And Radhika and me started the travel company from a garage of our house where we used to live. Very small again. My mentor, come my very good friend, come my neighbor in those days. He gave us the first opportunity in travel. He used to have a big corporate company, and he said, okay, I'll try giving my travel bit to you. I mean, business in terms of at least whatever he travels. And he used to travel all business class and stuff. So we were very excited that we got our first account, and one thing led to another. And he had, all through my life, he's played a very big role. So it was a big hand holding from his side in terms of, extent. I would give my restaurant journey also credit to him, because he was very fond of.
Yes, that's exactly what. When did Kylin Experience drop in? I want to know.
So we started our travel company in 96 end or something. I did my travel company till 2004. So I was in travel for good 8-9 years. During that time, I got a lot of chance to travel all across the globe. Not so much in terms of America and other countries, but Delhi, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, London, Europe, they were pretty common in terms of... They were pretty
common, those days.
Yeah, so Kylin also was a, kind of a birth. The whole idea was born in these travels only, when I used to come back from all these lovely cities.
Tell me that moment or that particular experience which led you to Kylin.
So as I said, every time I used to come back to Delhi, there was nothing to, kind of compare. There was no experiential dining here. There were restaurants like, Golden Dragon and Burkos and whatever names you can say. I'm giving you only Asian names. There were definitely Moti Mahals and the bars of the world. But I'm just telling you Asian names because that's how I used to be fond of Asian food that time also. Or let's say Chinese food. And the birth of Kylin came basically from experience in terms of, when I came back from London or Singapore and I'm not getting the same experience, I said, no, I need to do something, open something which has experience involved. It's not only pure vanilla dining in that you come to those, regular restaurants and sit on those same chair and table kind of a setup.
And Kylin means what?
Kylin is basically a Japanese unicorn which is supposed to bring
unicorn
which is supposed to bring you good luck. It's something like Ganpati in our part of the world.
Oh, like a
yeah, it's a horse dragon basically. In Japan they call it Kylin, but the English version of Kylin is Kylin.
Oh, I see. Yeah. And hence the cuisine and hence
yes. So the whole influence of Kylin was a lot from Japan because I loved their culture, the serenness, the calmness, the experiential thing they do, very unpretentious and stuff. Though Kylin is Pan-Asian from day one, but we had a lot of influence of Japanese culture in our interiors, in our style of service, in our food, because those days, I'm talking about 2005, sushi wasn't that common. And our first page of the menu used to be sushi.
People are still getting to the sushi
ramen was not even heard of, to be honest with you. We still had ramen on our menu. So those things were pretty new even for the Vasant Vihar. People who had exposure, who were living there in Vasant Vihar, for them 75% people knew. But anybody who was coming apart from Vasant Vihar area or South Delhi area, they used to find my menu quite intimidating.
Fair enough.
They couldn't understand what's a ramen, what's a sushi, what's a teppanyaki.
You coined it as Delhi's first Oriental
lounge, yes. First Oriental lounge, yeah.
Right.
That's how
because it was either eat and leave.
Yeah.
It was either a dining experience, either a fine dining experience, or a QSR, quick serve experience. But you were the first lounge in Asian.
Yeah, when I started from Kylin, as I said, I wanted to give an experience. So we were an Oriental lounge experience because we had the music in the restaurant. There was a proper, music list. There was low seating. We didn't have the regular tables. We didn't have any chairs. They were all lounges, but food picked up in a very big way because the whole concept. And I was a foodie that time as well.
You still love?
So I used to love my food, and I got a lot of exposure from travels. So food was my kind of first thing, passion. So that wasn't that okay. I'm opening a lounge, so I won't concentrate on food. Food was always right there.
Right there.
And somehow people loved the idea. Though we opened the first Oriental lounge, Asian, the influence was more Japanese. As I said, that time, 40, 45, 50% of the menu was Japanese. Slowly, when we started scaling up, we started going to malls, we became a little more Chinese. But we still had those Pan-Asian entries or the Chinese entry in our first lounge.
But Indian Chinese is a different cuisine from Chinese altogether, I think.
Yeah, if you go to China, you can't even eat a morsel there because it's really different.
Yes, but Indian Chinese, it's a whole different scene.
So if you personally ask me, what part of China do we get this Chinese from? I have no idea.
No idea.
I cannot. I've been to Shanghai, I've been to Beijing, I've been to Hong Kong, I've been to every possible Chinese city because I've bought a lot of stuff from China over these, past 10, 12 years, importing, furniture, importing equipment. Been there at least 15 or 10 small cities or towns of China. I haven't found any restaurant where I can compare, okay, I get this food in India too. No way.
Correct.
No way.
वो तो हमारा अपना ही बना हुआ है.
अपना ही बना हुआ है. Whether you ask for a chili chicken there.
मसाले डाल के सेट हो गया बिल्कुल.
There's nothing called chili chicken there. When you ask for a chili chicken, it's a fried chicken with dried chili. That's it.
Yes.
There's no sauce. There's no spinach. What do you call that? Bell pepper. There's no onion.
I didn't know that.
There's no bell pepper there.
I literally thought it was a
People
staple
don't
of
even know
Chinese.
what bell pepper is there. Chinese have no idea. idea what bell pepper is. So all these are English vegetables, but then fine.
But हमने British hangover में आके मतलब Indian Chinese बना दिया. Kylin is a pure homegrown brand from a homegrown boy.
Absolutely.
And from there you went in your success. You eventually tuned onto international brands and you kind of invited them over to be a part of you. And I'm going to read a little bit of information. IMARC report 2022 to 27. Your F&B is slated to expand at CAGR of 12.5%, which is literally 3% of India's GDP. How does it feel to be a very, very sustainable part of that economy? Because many of us around have failed.
Brilliant. I mean, I would say I'm lucky that I'm in a line which has got so much of scope now and so much of future and earlier also. Though we are still far behind to catch up with our own neighbors like Thailand and Singapore, we still eat out like 40 times a week compared to us still eating out 5 times a month.
Really? So what's the difference? Like here we eat out 5 times a month? No,
not even 5 times a month. And 5 times a month also I'm talking about the people who
average.
Can afford it. But if you take the Indian population, it will not be 5 times a year also.
I see.
Over the,
in the larger.
I'm talking in the larger. If it, like we're a population of more than 140 crores now. If you start looking at the whole population, zero. If you talk about the neighboring, kind of countries like Thailand, Singapore, Japan, or whatever, those cities eat out like 5 times a day.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
They start from breakfast. They end up, and they are small eaters. Like you go through these diets, and they say Asian people have small meals but frequent meals. The Asians, starting from Thailand till Japan, would eat at least 5 to 6 times a day.
Oh, seriously?
So, and those 5 to 6 times a day, they will not eat at home, whether it's a Monday or a Sunday or a Tuesday. Bangkok itself, the eating out average is 40 times a month per person. So literally, they don't have kitchens in their house. And India could be heading to that because India's got the youngest population across the world. In terms of the major population of India, is all young population.
It is. We are one of the.
So
I think we'll be the youngest working nation.
We are 3 times GDP. So it's the proof is in the pudding because everybody's now wanting to eat out, and the incomes are going up. Even a person who's earning 40,000-50,000 a month wants to eat out at least once a day out.
Yes, he does. I have a question which kind of stems from them. You've traveled quite a lot. You've eaten overseas, and I come back and I do think Indian home food is one of the healthiest.
Absolutely.
And when I say that, a lot of people are like, oh no, but like you have those veggies and vegans and all of that. But yeah, hum to bachpan se vegan hai na. Indian households are definitely basically vegan.
Dal roti sabzi.
Dal roti sabzi. I do want to know when somebody's coming to Kylin Experience, you have Jamie Oliver's pizza.
I used to have. I was a part of that particular brand. I was a part of the team which brought Jamie's Oliver, Wendy's.
Yes.
That's also part of my learning in food industry.
Absolutely.
So I spent about 5 years in that brand before I came out of it.
Just before COVID. I do remember that. Yes. The person who has dal chawal also will one day want to go to Kylin also for an outside.
Because
go for
options.
He would also want to consume the pizza. Let's say tomorrow, which used to happen. And I think in terms of, I really do think. I mean, I've lived abroad for so long. Barring when it comes to non-veg, we are a very experimental lot. Otherwise,
they're pretty okay to taste everything.
Your success is pretty apparent to us. For me, I call it a hyper-local star as well. Though it's a brand outside of Delhi, you're not really thinking. You're going to have a good time. You're going to get good food. Your service, your boys are fabulous, great service. And then you also know that when we all go, friends will be Saurabh there smiling, hello, we'll always sort it. We do that, right?
So I was only waiting for you guys to come so that I can smile.
Yes. But behind all of that, you did say that Jamie Experience was a learning curve.
Yes.
I would like to know about the learning bit. I also want to know a little bit about the rejections you face as an entrepreneur, particularly just F&B, because it can be a very, very strongish industry as well.
I've opened so many restaurants. I've closed so many restaurants. I opened the longest bar in town called the Ivy, which was a huge success for first 1 year.
I remember that.
I mean, there was a time when I used to feel, okay, there's no looking back, but I fell flat on my face because after 1 year, that particular product didn't have any shelf life. It only ran for 1 year like a rocket, and then after that, there was nobody to be seen because the place was only about entertainment, dancing, or let's say high upbeat music and stuff. And I didn't know at that time that there's a right time exit to that. So I would call it a big learning as well, but as a big failure as well, because I'd invested a lot of money. Whatever I'd earned in Kylin, or let's say had to invest out of my own pocket even. I mean, I would have invested double the amount of money which I had invested in Kylin and the Crewers, and I fell flat on my face immediately after 2.5, 3 years of running of Kylin. So that's kind of a failure when you kind of do a concept. I won't call it a failure because, as I said, it was purely my mistake of not exiting it at the right time.
Tell us more. A lot of now Indian homegrown businesses, which are, someone's starting a little Momo brand, someone is starting a Chinese brand, someone is only doing, let's say, Bihari food.
Market is
so much. Market is flush now. So
I
want to know a little bit about your interaction with an international brand. You got Jamie's.
Yeah, Jamie's Oliver.
Jamie Oliver. Yeah.
Wendy's to an extent. So
basically, basically key takeaways and things which you can tell the upcoming entrepreneurs?
I mean, if that only happened after running Kylin and my other homegrown brands very successfully. So as I said, from Kylin, I opened this longest bar in town called the Ivy, which had the 50 feet long bar with the live animation and disco dance floor, whatever you can think of, white and red, 20 chandeliers, Murano. The bar of its own time, I mean, everybody loved it. That was the place to be there. And as I said, the success of that only lasted for a year, and that's where I realized that, okay, everything what I was touching was not gold, and so on and so forth. So then obviously Kylin was there, and the second Kylin was in the making. I got back to Kylin, then my mentor, my very dear friend, more than a family now, he was very bullish about the food industry, just like you spoke about the numbers. That time also the story used to be same. The dining is going to go multi-fold. Restaurant is the business to be in. Everybody's going to start eating out. So he said, why not create a bouquet? We've got a homegrown Asian brand. We've got a homegrown, other brand. Let's get one or two international brands also in our kitty. And he partnered with some international guys there, which I became a part of it because my expertise was because I was already a F&B guy or a restaurateur for 7-8 years. I knew the nitty-gritty of this trade or whatever. Even for those international partners, they wanted some confidence to give their brands to people who've done F&B. They didn't want to hand over their businesses to, any guy who's into a different industry.
So the international brands they can't, and rightfully so, can't just join hands with anybody who's doing F&B. They need a certain experience, right? What would be the typical requirements? And this is, I'm getting down to TNCs of engagement.
So, see,
generally, not just Jamie's,
but I
over.
understand. I mean, any good brand or an international high-end brand, first thing they want is the financial stability and the security, because if you're getting their brand to your part of the world, they need to see the money that you can actually scale it up or not.
I see.
You just can't be
opened one and just sat on it.
You just can't be telling them a story that we'll take it from one store to 500. Wendy's, whether it was Jamie's in those times. So that is the pre-hygiene. After the pre-hygiene, what they see is who's taking it to does he know food business? And of course, they definitely, once they join hands, they make you go through their extreme training programs and stuff. But again, as a pre-hygiene only, they're more comfortable with people who already who run successfully. There's some content to it. There's some proven track. That's how things become easier, and you can literally convince them in getting those brands to your country.
I have always thought that F&B eventually, when it's in its full form, my assessment is more logistics and operations than just the food, I would assume. Because let's say you're serving fresh food, then you're just like pack timing everything for it to be fresh on the plate. Do you not think it plays a very big part? Because you could come up with any concept you want to, but if you've not been able to that end mile delivery to your restaurant and been able to serve it to your customers, it does make a lot of difference, and it does impact how you choose the format of cuisine or the business you want to serve to the people. Is that?
Yeah, you're right. But the thing is, of course, logistics are required to run any business. SOPs are definitely required for any sustainable business or a scalable business. So in different categories, different things work, or they have a bigger requirement. For example, logistics is a bigger part of a QSR.
Quick serving restaurants.
Where,
I see.
You're procuring things from a B2B vendor, compiling everything, training the staff and giving it. So there's no experiential or there's no cooking dining happening there.
I see. I hear you. Because your kitchens are, a lot of the kitchens are open for the public to see.
So there's no skill involved there. Those are more of a logistics. So a McDonald's or a Wendy's or a Pizza Express or a Domino's is more of a logistic business, because they've set their taste, they've created their master sauces, they're just cut, copy, paste, and so there's very little role of the skill to be played there. You're eating the regular product, just like a FMCG biscuit product or a namkeen product. When it comes to casual dining, which was my, kind of stream or genre or whatever, there, apart from the logistics or the SOPs, there has to be one biggest, ingredient for you to be successful. Commitment for sure, but passion for. You need to know the taste of your own market.
You taste a lot of your menus?
Obviously you do, but then again, whatever is tasting me good is not necessarily the success mantra. The success mantra is to know your part of the world, your clientele, your territory, because food is such a thing that it changes taste palettes every 100 miles in India. People are very finicky about it. So why do you think a McDonald's does dosa kind of a burger in Chennai and a tandoori only chicken burger in the northern part of the world.
They have to
because they're
local taste.
They're catering to the local taste. And that is what I learned in Kylin over these 7-8 years, that okay, learning from, my concept had a lot of influence from Japan, the taste had a lot of influence in London. But how to package the whole thing, how to create the right model, how to fit it into my market was the biggest.
Did you butt heads enough with your chefs to kind of...
All the time.
All the time?
We still do. I mean, we are ever evolving. I mean, taste food is like fashion. Every time it's going in and coming out.
Interesting.
So you're creating new dishes, you're introducing new stuff, you're taking out the old stuff. It keeps happening.
And now what are you looking for your future? Now we are post-COVID. I think we've all been through our
Post-COVID, restaurateurs or maybe food industries having a gala time. For that matter, a lot of industries having a gala time.
Like redemption time now.
The travel, the XYZ. So,
are you planning any more brands? Are you planning any more, or you're in that stage where you want to?
I'm very happy with
You're
because
happy where
one
we
thing
are?
COVID has done, and especially I'm an 18-year-old brand, so I carry that legacy of a seasoned restaurateur, a decent, dependable brand where people trust us for good food. So Kylin is a no-brainer because you can put it up anywhere and people will, respect it.
You have your set SOPs, you have your set brands,
SOPs,
your
set
menus.
taste, everything, menus. We're already in like 6 cities now. With
Oh
9
wow!
outlets.
Okay, how many outlets are you now?
So right currently 9, but before COVID we reached the number of 15, 16. We had to shut few in the COVID, but we're back in the game again in the sense like it happened with everybody. You had to make choices, so that's what happened. But now, as I said, after COVID, the whole paradigm, the whole industry's changed, and that industry is giving a lot of respect to restaurants and all these eating out places, which we are quite enjoying the honeymoon. I don't know how long it's going to last.
Hopefully.
God willingly, it shouldn't last. But that, and as I said, there's no end to scaling up a brand if you're doing a consistent, good food delivery job.
Lovely. May that work for you. I have a few questions.
Sure.
If your restaurant was a person, what kind of personality would it have?
Me.
You. It'd be
Absolutely.
Saurabh Khanijo. Have you ever had a customer order something off the menu that was so strange you thought they were pranking you?
All the time.
Like what? Like
Whatever you can think of. They want noodles without the vegetables at times, and what you just want boiled noodles? I mean, really? Why do you want them? But they want to eat it.
if your restaurant was a song, what would it be?
Some romantic song.
Some romantic song.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
You're a romantic restaurateur.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a celebrity, and I'm sure you have had, dine at your restaurant? Who was it and what did they order? Do you remember?
My
Tough one to
first
remember.
celebrity in my first restaurant was Karishma Kapoor. She didn't know me, I knew her, of course.
Okay.
So she was the one who used to come quite often because she was in Vasant Vihar that time, I guess. And she used to come and eat in Kylin. The first Kylin I opened in Vasant Vihar.
First Kylin,
Yeah, I think she was quite fond of sushi or something. I don't remember her order, but she used to like the food there.
Have you kicked out a disruptive customer?
Have I? No,
Hard
never.
for me to hard for me to think that you could ever do that.
I think nobody can.
मतलब दंगा हो जाएगा लेकिन निकालोगे नहीं आप.
I can't even dream of that.
You can't even dream of
Even
it.
if they're doing whatever they... I mean, I think I've done this in my club format, Ivy, and that also not directly, indirectly. Not with my own instruction, like telling my bouncer that the guy is not behaving right with the women, just, But not in the food business or restaurant business, no. We've never
thought of it.
Even if they've misbehaved to the level where you literally lose your nerves and stuff, no. We still say it's okay, sir.
And this is one question I wanted to ask. What's your dream destination to have Kylin? It could be India, it could be overseas, if you
No,
could.
definitely overseas, of course. I mean, it's a homegrown brand, so I would love to,
Homegrown
my
brand,
brand
yes.
Kylin to travel all across the world. But I think on my wish list should be London because
London.
it's the food capital of the world.
Thank you for coming today, Saurabh.
Pleasure
It
is all mine,
was so
Shweta.
lovely meeting you.
Pleasure.
When am I seeing you at Kylin again?
This weekend? Why not?
This weekend?
Yeah.
I'll see you there. Cheers then.
Cheers.